Hi there, my name is Tom Powers, and I am a consultant in the merchant service industry. And today I want to talk a little bit about the Durbin Amendment and what it means to the average business owner, some of the things to also look out for in that. So first of all, the Durbin Amendment is a new set of laws that have passed. Durbin was the senator that sponsored it. And these recently passed, and they take effect October 1st of 2011. And so in the Durbin Amendment, among many other things, but in particular what we're talking about as for your merchant services, that accepting credit cards at your business. So the Durbin Amendment affects the debit card rates that the banks can charge at a wholesale level. Okay, it's very important and key to understand. So first of all, understand that right now, every business that takes a credit card in America, it might be a credit card or a debit card. Don't get too confused over that. Even if it's a debit card issued to a consumer from a bank, and somebody does not enter in a PIN number, but they swipe it and sign for it like a credit card, this Durbin Amendment still affects these rates. Okay, so in a business, when you take a debit card, whether you're entering in a PIN number or you're swiping it, this Durbin law has a very massive impact. And the impact that it has is that the banks are restricted now and have a ceiling on what they can charge on a wholesale level for these debit card fees to the businesses. Now, be very careful in understanding that this law only affects what the banks charge to processors. So for example, I am in the merchant service industry. I sell people merchant services. So people open up a business, they need to take credit cards. They're going to get their ability to take credit cards from somebody like me as a private broker. They might go to their local bank, which typically has a merchant service program. You might go somewhere on the internet. You might belong to some sort of association or franchise that has a merchant service agreement set up with somebody. In any case, you're going to get it from someone that's essentially retailing it to you. What's very key, again, to understand, and I can't stress enough, is that this Durbin Amendment only affects what the banks can charge on the wholesale level. So let me give you a practical example. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers now. A lot of those customers are on a pricing model where they're paying a fixed rate for their debit card fees. I'll give you a quick, clean, clear example. Let's say that a customer of mine might be paying 1.25% for a debit card transaction. Understand that before October 1st of 2011, that wholesale rate would be around 1%. Therefore, I'm retailing it at 1.25%. I pay 1%. I'm making 1/4%. You got to make a profit. So what's different is now that wholesale cost is dropping down to about 0.28%. So if I don't pass that through to my customer and still keep charging them 1.25%, which the law does not affect me as the retailer. I could still keep charging the customer 1.25, even though my wholesale cost is going to drop from 1% roughly to 0.28%. I've got hundreds of customers like that. I personally am switching them all over to a different pricing structure where they can take advantage of this new savings, but a lot of merchant service companies are not doing that. So that's a really key thing to understand. Okay, so yes, that's a really key thing to understand there about it, is that the benefit is, the good news is, Durbin Amendment is making your debit card prices go way down, but only if you're working with a processor that's running a good ethical business and that's helping you out. So here's a couple of key takeaway points from this that you should really know as a business owner or someone that's working in the financial administration of a business, and you come across these merchant things. If you are owning a business or working in a position like that, you're probably getting solicited all the time from phone calls, emails, postcards, and everything under the sun, cold calling salespeople, and all of that, trying to get you to switch your merchant services. And they're using this Durbin Amendment to do it. Unfortunately, our industry, the merchant service industry, credit card processing, is very unregulated. If you watch any of my videos, you'll hear me harp on this all the time. It's one of the major drawbacks of our industry. There's not like an agent licensing procedure. There's not a whole lot of rules that dictate how we sell it or disclose fees. So, for example, if something similar was happening in the mortgage industry, that something similar to the Durbin Amendment that's happening in our credit card industry, we'd be a little more required to explain to you these different reductions in these fees. But we don't have to in the merchant service industry. It's not regulated like that. So, here's what I'm seeing a lot of out there. Let's say that right now you might be paying, let's keep the math simple, let's say you're paying 1.5% for debit card processing. Well, the reason why you're paying 1.5% is because, again, the wholesale cost right now, or before October 1st, 2011, is roughly 1%. So that person's making 0.5% profit on there. Now that's dropping down to 0.28. They might come around and say, hey, we'll give you debit card fees for 1%. So you were paying 1.5%, now you can get it for 1%. That seems like a great deal. But in fact, before, when you were paying 1.5% and wholesale was 1%, there was 0.5% in profit margin. If you're now paying 1% and wholesale is 0.28, therefore there's 0.72% of profit margin, you're actually paying more in margin than you were before, even though you're paying a lower rate. I see this happening all the time. So it's really key that you understand this Durbin Amendment and how it affects things. You can just simply Google Durbin Amendment, D-U-R-B-I-N, and you can find all kind of things about it. But just remember some of my key takeaways. The cost is really dropping radically, so if your current merchant service processor has not called you and explained this to you and told you that they're going to lower their rates, they're very likely not going to lower your rates, and they're going to take advantage of charging you the same price they've always charged you, but then they themselves paying a much lower wholesale rate. And now if you call them, if they'll backpedal, of course, oh, sure, we must have forgotten to contact you or something like that, and they'll automatically give you the rate reduction. But don't believe it. They could have done it all the time, okay, throughout the whole process. So again, if they haven't contacted you about Durbin, you're probably not getting taken care of the way that you should. So if you think you're paying really good rates right now, you're probably not. If you haven't had somebody look at your rates in the last couple months, it's a really good idea that you do so. But also understand that not all merchant service people are the same. There's very loose training in our industry. There's no licensing regulations. So there's no kind of guaranteed, at least bare threshold of knowledge that people even have to have. So a lot of people that might be selling merchant services, even if they work for a bank or seem like they work for a large company, quite often they really don't even know what they're talking about. They're just, regurgitating a sales pitch. I shamelessly throw myself out there to happily give you a quote on your merchant services. You can contact me at paymentpower@gmail.com. We can start out that way, give you a simple, rate analysis, take a look at what's going on now, go over your unique situation and really explain what this Durbin thing is about and how it can impact your business. But in any case, walk away from this knowing that this Durbin Amendment thing really can be a big benefit for your business. If you think about taking a look at a 0.72%, about 0.75% reduction on the debit cards that you take. Just to give you a quick example, if you're running a business that does $50,000 a month in MasterCard and Visa processing, probably half of that is debit cards. So you can take $25,000 times 0.072%, and that's a pretty good amount of money. 25,000 times 72% is 180 bucks a month. And that's not from having your fees actually reduced. That's just from what the law can provide to you. On top of that, the profit margin that's in those rates and fees could also be significantly reduced. So it can be a big impact for your business. It's really worth taking the time to learn a little bit more about it and, try to research it yourself. Don't just kind of take the next salesperson that walks in the door's word for it. Thanks for watching my video. There will be other videos periodically on here that explain some of the ins and outs about the credit card processing world. Again, my name's Tom Powers, and you can reach me at paymentpower, paymentpower, @gmail.com. Thanks, and have a great day.